Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to record another episode of Coffee for Scalers today, looking at businesses in the online video space and their journeys and paths. So I am delighted to have Dean Stobbart here today, the creator of 44tunes. Hi, Dean. How you doing?
I'm good, Dennis. Thank you very much. Full transparency, I don't like coffee. Does that mean we can't carry on? I have to stop.
Coffee is for closers and scalers, but no, we can carry on.
Can I have tea? Can we make it an episode of tea? Yeah.
Tea.
Or
Yeah.
banana milkshake, I'm a fan of.
Oh, good.
The inner child.
Yeah. So Dean and I met when I was back at Google YouTube back in, I think it was 2013 maybe. And amazing to see 10 years later, 44tunes being absolutely massive. I was actually looking at some stats before this. On YouTube, you have 4.26 million subscribers. You have 3.6 billion views. You're actually beating F2 Freestylers, who I remember were very, very big back then as well, and slightly behind the Premier League at 3.9 billion views, but right up there as one of the largest football channels on YouTube. So yeah, Dean, it's great to have you.
Oh, no, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, it's always, I'm usually just sitting here working in my own little bubble. So to actually speak to another human, albeit digitally, is very rare for me.
Yeah, great. And can you let the audience know what is 44tunes?
Yeah, it's I kind of sum it up as the ridiculous world of football animated. So we create little cartoons, daft little sketches, songs, parodies, all light-hearted, a little bit irreverent, but coming from that kind of place of affection because I love football. So that's what we do. It'll often be matches. So we'll have a match yesterday and we'll make a cartoon and publish it on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all the usual social platforms. So yeah, just having fun with football, basically.
Great. And how did you get started in this world? I remember you were a teacher, right, before moving over full time into 44tunes.
Yeah. So I'll try and make a long story short. I worked as an actor in London for 5 years, so doing like West End shows and some TV stuff and voiceovers. So I did that for 5 years and it was successful. And I was just kind of working with people thinking, do I want to be doing this when I'm 40? And it's like you're having to take jobs you might not want to take or working away. So then I got married and thought, right, get a proper job, kind of in inverted commas, and went to be a teacher and loved that because I just love teaching kids. It was primary school. And I just kind of kept this going as a sideline, like the creativity side, doing things with the kids in school, like their shows. And I just started to learn to animate as part of teaching kids. You know, you teach them rocks and soils and you go, how do you make this fun? So we'd have animated rocks and things. And I was just on holiday, bored because my wife likes sunbathing, and thought, right, I'm feeling a little bit like I'm wasting kind of what I learned, or the kind of creative side. What can I do? I love South Park, love the kind of Monty Python animated parts. And just suddenly thought, what about football? And just kind of took it from there, really. Made some really bad cartoons to start with. Wasn't a very good animator, still not a great animator. But the first ones are really, really dodgy, but just found that people connect. You know, that's the beauty, of course, of social media. People connected with them. And then it was the 2014 World Cup that things really kind of took off. In the first video I did, and it was a really rubbish 30-second video. Simple premise of Neymar Hulk diving to win a penalty. The ref supporting Brazil gives them the penalty to score. I just remember going to school the next day. And I had notifications on for subscribers then at the time, as you do, because it's like, oh, another one, another two. And I just remember my phone just being like a list of notifications and emails from journalists saying, can we use this video? Yeah, and it was crazy. So that was the kind of launch for it, really. We'd had a few.
How many views did that video get?
I think it was by lunchtime, it was like 1 million, which for YouTube, you know, for me up until that point, we got a few tens of thousands, and you know, we're doing maybe one video a month because it was a hobby. But that one, I remember just staying up like it's 11. I was by myself, 11 till 3 in the morning, just animating it, put it out, and thought, well, whatever happens. I'd never really done it that quick before or that short. And just that Friday, you just never forget that buzz of it. And that's the kind of, the addictive side of what you're doing, just getting that kind of feedback. And so that was the springboard for it.
Wow. And have other platforms been as important for you during that journey, or has it always been YouTube? I heard you say boo with TikTok in the opening.
Yeah, well, it's YouTube's certainly driven almost everything we do. We've done Instagram along the way, and it's built numbers, but it's been hard to monetize for us. So we do it because we treat it as free promotion. Facebook's been okay, because that brings in revenue just for doing what you do and not, worrying about shops and all that. But TikTok, yeah, I kind of have a real hatred towards the platform.
Why?
It's just they have their cake and eat it, and just the monetization side of it is horrific. And
horrific. Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to get focused on the negatives, because YouTube, to me, YouTube, it's been where we're popular, and it's helped us revenue wise, and everything has been positive, and it's built around that. And TikTok to me is just taking everyone does those views, and a lot of it's for, wow, look at these views, but really what you're getting in return. So we do it, and we just see it again as a free promotion tool. And
actually, with vertical video though, do you like YouTube Shorts? I saw you've uploaded.
No, I don't really like YouTube Shorts either, but I suppose again, I understand why they've done that, why they've launched that, and they need to compete and fight off keep the wolves from the door of TikTok and keep people there. But I just find it, again, it's for us with animation, we're putting all that time and effort into it. If you get millions of views there, it's worth, a tiny amount. So it's, again, we'll do it intermittently and not very well, just because the amount of time animation takes. But yeah, the longer form widescreen is our bread and butter, and then we repurpose for everywhere else.
Okay.
But
yeah, great. And in terms of the audience today, like, how does the business generate revenue, kind of simplistically?
Yes, well, the ad revenue's the one that looks after itself. Obviously, you put videos on YouTube, your audience there will watch it, so that brings it in. We do brand deals, so integrated brand promotions. We do direct commissions, so we do content for the Bundesliga, and we've always done longer deals with people as well to produce content for their platform rather than ours. We do merchandise, not very well at the minute, but we do kind of a relaunch of that. We do apps. We've had a couple of really good apps that people have enjoyed and used. We've got another one on the way. We put some music up. That's, again, due another little bit of a push. And we do video cameo messages as well, so people request birthday messages, which is a bit more fun. So it's not it brings money in, but it only really covers what we take to produce. It's more of a kind of it costs them, but by the time we've produced it, it's more just to keep fans having their little private cherished cartoon of happy birthday or whatever. So that's it in a nutshell.
Then, like, I'm sure a lot of people who upload to YouTube or TikTok or other platforms, there's kind of a point in time where you're like, okay, I want to do this, try and do it full time and leave behind my previous role. Like, what was that like for you?
Luckily, for me, it was okay, because I got a contract producing. It was like a betting video for Trinity Mirror. So it was like they had a weekly video they were doing. It was a guy giving betting tips, their columnist.
Oh yeah,
and that replaced my teaching salary. And so it was a no-brainer, really. Obviously, I had the ad revenue and other little deals that were coming in at that time. So it wasn't like, risking the mortgage, risking the house, it's already more lucrative. So luckily, it was an easy one. That deal, when we started it, but after about 10 videos, they stopped it. So even at that time, it could have gone immediately south, but just things picked up. And obviously, making more content, all the graphs start to rise. You get more followers, you get more money. So it just all worked out. And 10 years, touch wood, I've not had any real major stresses with, where's the money coming from with this? It's always been on the up, and so just been lucky with that, really lucky.
Yeah. Okay. And like on the ad monetization side, like, is it still Google AdSense that pays you the money? Is it that's linked to your YouTube?
Yeah. Then it's like we have an agency that deal with, like, look after us on our behalf and collect that and forward it and sell some additional direct sold media on top. But it's still for YouTube side of it, that's still how it comes in. And
I remember being at I think it was 2018 or something, where there was kind of like these there was like brand issues on YouTube that came to light in some of the
Yeah,
press in the UK and stuff. And I remember on the
yeah.
creator side, it was like called the ad apocalypse.
And
Like,
apocalypse.
yeah, yeah. Like, did you see, how have you seen kind of the ebbs and flows of that YouTube money, or has
Yeah,
there
it's
been?
well, certainly. I mean, within a calendar year, you get to November and December, and it's like make hay while the sun shines. This is amazing because everything, everyone's hitting the Christmas stuff,
Yeah,
and you put more videos out, but obviously there's more competition, so that's great. And then you get to January, and it's like the tumbleweed moment of you're making this stuff, and you just see all the graphs kind of declining.
good.
Your views
Yeah.
may be the same, but your ad revenue is just like, is it
And
even any
is
point
that starting to
working?
pick up now that we're in March, or like
March
January,
does, yeah,
February?
yeah. It picked up a
Yeah.
little bit towards the end of February, and certainly for me in football as well. This is when the bigger matches,
Yeah.
means more. You get the cup run-ins, the league run-ins, heading into the Euros. But certainly, I mean, that monetization alone, obviously, brand deals. If you've got existing agreements, they carry on, but it just goes quiet because the ad spend's primarily gone, and they're waiting for new budgets and things. So that's one thing, but as far as YouTube goes, I mean, there's been those bumps, yeah, of as YouTube's got bigger, people have come knocking, or like the copper stuff with what you can be putting in your cartoon for us videos. And then there was even when the new terms and conditions come out, and it's like any kind of animation we see as targeted at kids, so we'll need
Oh,
to.
yeah.
And you're suddenly going, oh my god, you're going to get turned off, your ads turned off. And there has been that, and we have videos turned off for cartoon because we are a little bit irreverent. So we might, it's cartoon violence. It's
Yeah.
not really much worse. Well, I suppose it's a bit worse than Tom and Jerry used to be in places, but some of the things you get it turned off for, and you appeal it, and it's like a human review says, no, you have, you've sworn in the first 15 seconds, and
Okay.
not the worst.
Yeah.
It can be a minor word, and your ad it gets turned off because it's in the first 15 seconds, or there's those things where because it's your business, you suddenly, like everyone says, apocalypse, you're suddenly going, oh my god. And I know a lot of creators are the same, that they have ads turned off, and you can't really appeal it. You can appeal
Yeah.
it and just says human review says no, ads are off, and that is, yeah. And even if we've got a YouTube partner manager, you speak to them, and unless you're one of the big players,
Yeah.
we can't really fight our corner on that. So yeah, there's things like that along the way, little bumps in the road. And for me as well, tone wise, what I started as is not as extreme as South Park, but it's meant at that audience. It was meant as an adult product,
Yes.
no, it wasn't even a product. It was meant for my peers. It wasn't meant for younger than that.
Yeah.
And along the way, we've had to just tone stuff down to not survive. That sounds dramatic. To just keep on the right side of advertising, which you understand. But yeah, that's the thing. And certainly now with humor as well, it's just, even now to 10 years ago, it's the challenge is, where can you find humor without offending anyone?
Yeah.
And drawing the line between what is meant as a joke and taking the right way to something that might be seen as inappropriate. So yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Is that a long-winded answer to your question?
No, it's great. It totally resonates with me, like how comedy is changing over that time, and that tricky paradigm you have where like South Park or Rick and Morty and stuff, where it's like
Yeah.
older audiences or teens up. But
Mm.
I guess they had like times that they would broadcast that on TV to satisfy
Yeah.
things. While on the
Yeah.
YouTube world, that's hard, isn't it?
It is hard, and you also get the kind of YouTube is 13 plus, but
Yeah,
everyone knows that there's people watching it under that age. And then I get the moral side of it. I've got 3 kids, and yeah, letting them, what do you just let them have free reign on YouTube? For me, no, I'm not the strictest parent, but I know what they could stumble on. Then there's the YouTube Kids app that came out. So there's just these, like you said, ebbs and flows of all little things where you go, well, now this is out, YouTube Kids, but you can't monetize there. So for us, we don't let it go on there.
yeah,
And it's parenting as well, isn't it? For us, that if parents are letting their kids watch it, they're letting their kids watch it. It's not meant for under 13s, the platform, but
yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh,
yeah.
great. All right. And with the business, like, and scaling it, I guess when you saw some traction and then you're like, okay, I need to produce more output here, or I need to get the business up to whatever amount in revenues. Like, can you talk a little bit about what you've learned along that journey over the last 10 years, like how to get the business in a good place?
Yeah, it's for me, I've always been not cautious, but I've always expanded as more deals have come in, and I've never really speculated with the business side of it with loans or taking on investors. I didn't want
Yeah.
investors behind us to answer to. And even last year, we did look at potentially even selling the business. And looking at that, and it's just, again, I don't want to head into that space of suddenly having meetings and people that want X, Y, and Z views. Why isn't this working? Why is that working? Or just me having to answer to somebody.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, along the way, it's been just expanding the team as more money came in and more videos came in, which then in turn meant we could produce a bit longer videos,
Yeah.
better quality. We could feature more players, just put more time into it. Where when it was just me, of course, it was every
Yeah.
shortcut under the sun to get it churned out. Well, not churned out, but to get it out
Get it
quickly.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just been those little milestones along the way, and some has been kind of a part of a strategic decision, and others has just been, you know what, maybe we could do with somebody else, or maybe we could do this, or maybe we should do that. And it's been just led by just an instant kind of decision and just a quick kind of off the cuff decision. So it's just a bit of a mixture. I suppose for me, I did a talk once at London Business School, and I didn't quite realize the reason I was there until I was there. And it was kind of how you can build a business without really thinking about it. That was the vibe.
Yeah.
So it was how you can, you don't always need a business plan,
Yeah.
or like you don't need to think it through in the absolute minutiae of detail
Yeah.
to actually get a functioning business. So sorry, just a slight problem here. A window cleaner's turned up to clean my windows, so we might
Perfect.
hear some banging in a minute if we.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, that's how lazy I am. I haven't got time to clean the windows.
Yeah.
Too busy sat
But
making
to that
cartoons.
point, what you just said, like if the product is so good and such a good product market fit,
Yeah.
like it can bring so much with it, like those kind of tailwinds, versus
Yeah.
like having a great strategy, business plan, and everything.
Yeah, I think that's it. And for me, it kind of comes down to I didn't have a lot of time for planning.
Yeah.
It's when you're producing the content we produce, arguably could have taken on more people to delegate and then free my time up, or take on, partners, business partners and things like that. But because I'm more creator led and it's more about creating and getting that video
Yeah.
out there, that's kind of where my focus has been. But yeah, I think maybe if I had time again, maybe commercially I'd do things differently, but I quite like the fact it's been led by the creation and the creativity rather than purely
Yeah.
business or commercial or money grabbing
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
the commercial stuff, do you think if you were like starting the business again, is it a case of trying to kind of get long-term brand partnerships and stuff in place where you'd focus, or what would you do
Yeah, I
differently
guess
there?
so. I mean, we did have them as well, and that's why we had season-long deals with the Bundesliga, and we still produce content more intermittently, but we still do that for
Yeah.
them. So it was kind of that we had enough. So it was almost like it wasn't me going, oh, we're missing out on this X, Y, and Z. I think where we've not done as well as other people in the space is maybe just more the kind of getting brands rather than producing content for them, just getting brands attached to the channel and
Yeah.
to sponsor the channel and things like that. So it's an addition,
Yeah.
an easy addition that isn't compromising your creativity or your output. And it's just like a tack on to people just want to be associated with it and the views. So I think that side of it. But again, that brings its own
Yeah.
issues as well that may have driven me up the wall and
Hmm.
felt, a bit like the handcuffs are on with, not literally, none of those dubious partners. But yeah, just that it was shackling me or something like that. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I think to get
Yeah.
10 years in, I mean, and when I quit my job, I was thinking, right, 2 or 3 years, I can come back to teaching or sidestep or go to another company or something. I didn't think it'd still be its own business 10 years in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
congrats. Yeah, but
yeah,
like
it's madness.
3.8 billion views on YouTube. It's insane.
Yeah,
Or 3
and
point
that's
whatever
YouTube
it is.
alone.
Yeah.
I know it's something like that, and yeah, you just even there's some days, where views dip in a week, or like before Christmas, views were
Yeah.
pretty poor, and then after Christmas, not much happening in football. It's a little bit stale, and you kind of get a bit down on yourself. And even then, it's like 15 million views in a month, and some months we had 50, 60 million views, and you can again go, oh, it's not as good as it used to be for that month, and you just
Yeah.
go, geez, to get that from just making stupid cartoons in your in your own little office while everyone's working from their offices, it's crazy. It's
Oh,
crazy.
amazing. Yeah. And
Mm.
with that, actually thinking about what you said earlier about like companies being interested in the business and thinking about the product today is so much of it is linked to you. Have you
Mm.
ever tried to create new brands or different strands that like aren't as closely linked to your voice or your animations and stuff like that?
Yeah, we did. It's a bit of a sister kind of product company that was Celebritoon, so it was the same thing, but
Oh
kind of
yeah.
celebrity culture. So we did
Yeah.
about 6, 7 of them, and they did okay, but it kind of just made me realize like my heart wasn't in it. I was doing it
Yes.
purely as it's another audience. We could hit that audience, but celebrity culture to me, I follow it. I follow movies to a degree, but it's not my kind of passion. So we made a video about, casting the next James Bond, Ed Sheeran bringing out some music, Adele losing a voice, all these kind of little celebrity stories. I just made them. And on top of the fact that, the views and the money on that channel, which was separate, is a lot lower. So you're immediately kind of losing money to try and build it up. You've then got, it's time that I could be making another football video, which I'm more
Yeah.
interested in. And that's again where we thought about, right, well, do we expand now and get a separate team, get somebody that is interested in that? And it's again, you just get to that point where I just would have felt the workload would have probably made me implode a bit.
Yeah.
And it's just that, yeah, it could have worked, and it could be that you get a really good team in place and it looks after itself. Um, but to me, it just felt like I wanted to just focus on this. And if
Yeah.
if you can't make the football audience work, it's huge.
Yeah.
People have talked to us about other ones, doing Formula One. We thought about or cricket or golf and all this, and boxing is popular, obviously, but we just felt that football's
So
just a
big,
huge
such
audience.
a big
Yeah,
sport. Yeah, like I was
yeah,
listening to I don't know if you listened to the overlap, but Rory McIlroy
yeah,
was
yeah.
on it a few months ago, and he was just talking about the size of golf and like the fact that the Saudi government coming in and putting a few
Yeah.
billion into golf, and they can buy so much of it because it's so much smaller than like a
Mhm.
sport like football, where a club would cost you X billion.
Yeah, yeah,
So football is mass reach. Yeah,
yeah. And I think that's where coming back to there is that part of me that thinks, right, well, should I create more cartoons that is like we do silent movie type ones or like ones set to
yeah,
music so it can reach a more international audience? And you think, is that a way for me to kind of start producing that so there's less demand on singing and voices?
yeah,
And it becomes then a company that if I did want to kind of sell it or just,
yeah.
if you're reaching the end of that kind of shelf life with it myself, that then makes it more, it's not linked entirely to me.
Yes.
So that is possible. But again, I think that's what people like is the voices and
Yeah.
the fact you can access it and make up those stupid conversations that you never know what happens on a pitch, and you can add,
Yeah.
add that kind of locker room humor and
Fun.
relationships behind it all.
And
That's their
thinking about
cost.
that Man United Liverpool game, so you got that
Yeah.
out yesterday at 5 p.m. and the game finished the evening before. Was it at 7 or 8 p.m. or something like that?
Yeah, it would have been half. Oh yeah, 6-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
the when we
24 hours.
first started, I would have gone to work straight away at 6. The team would have gone on about 10 or 11 at night, and they're UK based as well, and worked
Yeah.
till like 6 or 7 in the morning. I'd have
Wow.
worked till about 3. I'd have got up at maybe 8 o'clock in the morning and then edited it, and we'd have had it out probably by lunch, something like that. Whereas now, just maybe after about 5 years in, I went, right, I've done the slog. I now want to get my weekends back. I want to get my nights back. I want the tea. You're working people like that as well that are pretty much nocturnal then, and you're just
Yeah.
like, you start to feel a little bit. Well, I did felt uncomfortable with it. So we just switched to then I'd write the script. Maybe I went back, all my kids go to bed, wife goes to bed, I'll script then 10 or 11 at night. They wake up, the team wake up about 8 and crack on from there. And then we aim to just get it out, aim for that commute. that commute time, whether that's people coming
Okay.
in from work, school. We'll try, and 4 o'clock is ideal for us to get that international audience as well that are an hour ahead. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's just slow. Or if my brain's slow on ideas, it can be more like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I suppose as a business decision, if we were owned by somebody, they'd be like, well, let's outsource it and get the animate and get it done quicker, because you need, or a short clip like a TikTok, you should really have a 10-second clip up by 8 o'clock that night to really hit that audience. But if the revenue's on YouTube that we're chasing, that first and foremost, we just think let it kind of 24 hours is fine. And because it's animation, people give you the benefit of the doubt, and it's
Yeah.
still, if it's a big match, it still resonates then anyway.
Yeah. Is
But
that
yeah,
kind of
those are,
this expectations your audience expect now, is like 24 hours is kind of when you bring that?
yeah, 24 hours. I think if you miss that on YouTube, you're struggling.
Yeah.
We produce, if it's a really big match, we'll produce a second cartoon, more a reaction type one, and it still does well for views. But I think 24 hours after that, you're really struggling to be in that wave
Yeah.
of people searching for it, and YouTube recommendations. But yeah, that's the kind of downside to animation, is what it takes to produce it, as opposed to
Yeah.
watch alongs or reaction videos that you can just click your camera on now, go live, and
Yeah.
you put a 10-minute video out. And that's the other thing, digressing a little bit, forgive me, is the kind of YouTube side of it. For us, we're a little bit hampered by the 8-minute cutoff. So if you hit 8 minutes, you can turn on as many ads as you want in a video. Obviously, you don't want to annoy people, but that's the kind of the cutoff. Whereas anything under that, you can only have the start advert. So for us, if we produce a 6-minute piece of animation, we can only have that one advert. And because we're animation, to hit that 8 is so hard compared to like football, the overlap, like for example, or people reacting to the match. So that's also quite a challenge for us as far as hitting that 8 minutes for extra.
And are you always
extra
kind of
revenue.
striving for that 8 minutes?
No, we have a series. Just part of our strategy is we'll do the match ones that are always 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes,
Yeah.
because that takes long enough. When
Yeah.
when you've got match stuff and they're all running around,
Yeah.
that's slow compared to talking heads. But we do a series on a Sunday, which is kind of inspired by the Sidemen kind of
Oh, yeah.
group lads challenges.
Yeah.
So we'll have footballers attempting football challenges, or copy and go. Can you karate kick somebody like Eric Cantona, who gets the most
Yeah.
points? Yeah. So we do that to hit 8 minutes, and also just to, it's not purely chasing the money of it. It's for fans that are maybe less interested in the matches and are more interested in they know the characters, and they just want to see them doing something silly that's evergreen, gets more views over time. So yeah, that's just part of to do both, we figure, is a good idea.
Oh, nice.
But that's intense. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
longer, hard to script 8 minutes. It's a blank page rather than using football events, and it just takes a lot longer.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. And well, I was going to ask you about so growing your YouTube channel. Like,
Yeah.
if you were talking to yourself 10, 12 years ago, before you kind of went along this journey and everything,
Yeah.
what advice would you have for people with growing a YouTube channel today?
Today, for me, I suppose my biggest, the thing that I think, aside from all the things coulda, woulda, shoulda done, is just that I've found something that I enjoy, and
Mm.
to pick something that you enjoy, and even to myself, is to kind of stick with football. Although we could have done a lot of different things, I've enjoyed watching football and making videos about it. It's my passion, and that's meant that on the days where things are harder work, or where you're struggling for motivation or things like that, it's that's kept me going. So I suppose to myself and those people, is to just find, it sounds obvious, but it's just to find something that you enjoy, and that would be it. Yeah, I suppose the biggest one, because that's what's kept me
Yeah.
going, and I think that's what's kept it an honest kind of, I keep saying product, I don't treat it as a product, it's just me mucking about, but that's what's kept it kind of genuine. It's not been kind of sanitized too much. We arguably could have, to attract more brand deals and make it more successful commercially. So yeah, I think I can kind of look back and think, well, we may have toned it down a little bit more than I'd like to have, but it's still me, and it's still, if it ended tomorrow and I stopped it tomorrow, I can look back in that and just go, wow, what we achieved And I forget that a lot of the time. So I'm telling myself this now. I'm actually going, you know what we have achieved. Yeah.
Once you take a step back from it all, right? Versus in the day to day.
Yeah.
And with growing a business as well, I've asked this on the podcast a lot. Like with growing a business, a lot of people talk about people, process, technology. Like, what were the most important for you with growing your business?
I mean, because you mentioned that to me before in an email, and that's it is those for me. You know, obviously we couldn't have done anything what we've done without that technology. That's the animation software for us is huge, because everyone always, even people in the animation industry, kind of say, how the hell do you make it so quickly?
Okay.
From
What
even the
software is
idea.
it that you use?
Oh, I can't possibly disclose this, Dennis.
Yeah.
It's industry secrets. No,
Okay.
It's a piece called, it's Reillusion, and it's actually so old. It must be, I think it's 15 or 16. It's discontinued now, basically, but it's so quick it's like drag and drop, and it's puppeteering. So rather than, it's not drawn frame by frame, obviously. And because it's just the kind of vehicle to kind of put the jokes out, we've never really worried about the quality of, it's got a lot better, don't get me wrong. So that has kind of allowed us to put out things out at speed, the technology side, and obviously what YouTube's doing, what the kind of advancements they've made and the things they've launched as part of the platform has really helped everyone along the way. So that technology side is huge. To, if I'd have wanted to do this in 10 years previously, YouTube might have just about got away with it. 10 years before that, I mean, no way. You'd have had to pitch to TV studios, relied on that. Then you're at the mercy of viewing figures and all that. So that technology is huge. The people for me, my team, without them now taking on that daily grind of animating my stupid ideas, that's it. And the process as well, it's, I sound like I'm giving a lazy answer, but that process of, we just have it that me writing it, the team starting to animate it. Sometimes they're animating literally scene by scene as I'm writing it. They're waiting for me to kind of go, right, what's the next scene?
Wow.
And that process that gets it out, we've refined it along the way, but it's still pretty much the same process. Just watch a match, come up with some fun about the match, some jokes about the match, and make a video, and then let the technology do what it does best. And, then the people side of it, the audience, are doing us a favor by engaging with it, and it just keeps it building up. So
do you mostly watch matches by yourself, or do you watch with them with mates and stuff?
It's still both. Yeah, the way I watched the Man United match with mates. I've got a season ticket for the team I support that's still under wraps, so I don't offend anyone on my channel.
Oh, really?
Oh, he's just a this fan, he's just a that fan. So I've got a season ticket.
You do live around the Liverpool Everton area, though.
Oh, right? I do, but that's purely my wife is from North Wales, so it's a geography thing for family. But yeah, there's matches I've seen at Liverpool and Everton and Tranmere I've been to, and I take my little boy as well.
Nice.
But I can't remember, what was I talking about there? Which point were we on? Who do I watch it with?
Who do you watch it with?
Yeah, a lot of the time it'll be by myself. But my little boy's 7 now, so he started started watching more matches, but 90 minutes is a bit of a slog for him in front of the TV. So yeah, still me mainly, and it's a great excuse to watch a lot of football, isn't it? I'm working as he puts on Champions League match 1, iPad Champions League match 2, the Premier League match that has been rescheduled, whatever, on number 3. And I've not really got, I think football now is not quite as rich as it was for characters. When we started, and that kind of, our strongest period was probably between 2016 and 2020. And you had the likes of Ronaldo and Messi doing things left, right, and centre. Zlatan, Neymar,
Balotelli, right? Suarez as well. I remember
all of them. Suarez was popular. Griezmann coming through. I think we're a little bit in a bit of a down the other side of the mountain for characters. But I still haven't lost my enthusiasm for watching football. I've not got to the point where I'm like, I loathe it, or it's become bitter towards it because I'm watching so much. And same as the amount of people in the space that are doing podcasts or whatever with football, there's just always that new story tomorrow. Even if tonight tomorrow I'm thinking what we're making tomorrow, and hopefully between now and then tonight something's going to happen and somebody's putting a transfer request or had an injury. So yeah.
Yeah, great.
Still enjoying football.
Yeah, good. And I was going to ask you there do you ever like your face is not in any of the videos or anything, but your sound is your voice is obviously very recognizable. Do people know who you are like in
Yeah,
your local
we
town and
started.
stuff, or are
Yeah,
you
when we
celebrity?
started. Oh, not quite. But I
Yeah.
think Z list, like
Yeah.
quadruple Z list. When we started, I did put in I kind of experimented with doing the vlog style of it, and I did one video of me doing the voices, filming myself doing them. That did really well. And then I'd go to football matches and people would say, "Oh, it's them," or out shopping, and Timmy, you make football cartoons, and it's just like, what? You've seen me in like 3 videos, and it's in my local area. It's not like you've gone to London or somewhere. So there's that. And then, of course, my kids have been at school, and then they'll just come home and say, "Oh, by the way, so-and-so watches your cartoons," or so-and-so's
Nice.
older brother does, or so-and-so's dad does. And even after lockdown, we had somebody came to the house, my daughter's new friend. I went, "I just know you from somewhere. Where is it?" He said, "Hang on a minute. You don't make football cartoons, do you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh my God, that got me through lockdown watching them." And he said, "Honestly, me and my son would sit there watching it, having like the best time watching your cartoons." So it is funny. I mean, less than that, I don't put myself in now. My animated character pops up for kind of brand integrations because you don't want to put
Yeah.
Ronaldo selling a product in for fear of a massive lawsuit. So I use my character a little bit. And it's more, I get more recognized for being an Alison Becker lookalike these days. Honestly,
Okay.
when you get anywhere, it's like you look like Alison. Everywhere I go, you just get, "Oh, you look so much like Alison." And okay. And I took my little son on a tour we did Everton, we did Liverpool, the stadium. And
Nice.
honestly, the Liverpool tour, every stop we got around with every kind of tour guide, was just like, "It's Alison," haha. And you're like,
That's
yeah.
funny.
How many
Yeah.
fake laughs you do by the end of a
Yeah.
90
Yeah.
tour? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I was going to ask you as well, it, with the YouTube community, like I remember when I first met you, I was working at Google at the time, and there was kind of YouTube sports meetups and stuff. Are
Yeah.
you quite like tight with other YouTubers and stuff, or yeah, what's
No,
the
we're a little bit
community
of an
like?
island. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we know people in it, and we know people that are nearby, and we meet up for those conferences and things. But I'd say YouTube's kind of shifted now just towards the broadcasters. It
Okay.
very much feels like, and again, the difference between us in the first 6 years of doing what we did is there was no real highlights on there. It was all additional club content. And now it's just, the full matches on there for the Champions League final. There's clubs putting up their highlights
Yeah.
20 minutes after the match. So we are now, where it was like that first conference we did, there was maybe 8 of us there representing football, and we were the big ones. And now it's more kind of broadcast. Even the last YouTube Sports conference was very much aimed at
Broadcast.
broadcasters, and I was kind of sitting there going, none of this applies to me.
Yeah.
So that has changed. Yeah, that has changed quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess the broadcasters though, they don't always commit and stuff either, right? It's kind of been an interesting dynamic, hasn't it, at YouTube about
Yeah,
like creators, media companies, back and forth. But
I'd say it's massively the other way now.
is it?
Massively.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's fascinating, like how big YouTube is now,
yeah.
like even on TV devices and seeing
That's their
advertisers
big
so
push now as
interested.
well. Connected
Yeah,
TV is
TV.
now,
Yeah.
and again, you're at that thing and they're saying, right, so we want to sell subscriptions to, if you want to come on board, you could sell your subscription via YouTube Connect. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, it's just, and you understand why. But that's the massive difference across the 10 years of everything being creator focused to now
Yeah.
broadcast. And even those people there's very few independent channels that are really putting out their own football stuff. It's pretty much backed by, a lot of
Yeah.
it's backed by
Bigger companies.
bigger companies and betting companies. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So that's been great, Dean. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on board. I was going to just say one other thing is like, do you have any advice for entrepreneurs in the creator economy or creator space with scaling a business kind of to what you've done yourself?
Yeah, I suppose I'm not the best person to do, because I've kind of maybe not scaled as much as could have or should have. And I suppose for me as well, that's kind of come from my view of it being based around football. I've not
Hmm.
wanted to scale it too much to
Hmm.
kind of wake the beast wake up, you know,
Yeah.
Sky. We did work with Sky, but to wake up people that are maybe going, hang on a minute, you're getting all these views out of, you know, parodies of our characters. And although it's safe legally and the parody laws and caricatures, I just didn't want to kind of get it too big. So I suppose more my advice is, again, back to just finding something that you enjoy. And along the way, we did have those deals that presented themselves, taking that and scaling up even to that smaller team of 6 and taking on freelancers and things did help us get more views, but it was always led by what we wanted to do. So it's just, again, it's just keeping on top of that. And I suppose I've seen a lot of companies along the way that have sold or that have been bought out and have just absolutely crashed and burnt. And it's fine if, I suppose, if person X has taken a large payday for it and gone walking off into the sunset, but there haven't been. There's been people that have been let down by, you know, bigger companies and then being fired or just had to buy their channels back. So I suppose for me, it's kind of that little side of, I'm an example maybe more of keeping hold of things yourself, keeping it to yourself, and that it can still work over this length of time if you've got something that people, you know, if you've got a product that is people like. So I suppose that's, I suppose scaling, as I said, is we haven't gone up to 100 employees. We haven't become the Family Guy of football in the sense that it's on terrestrial TV and produced by a big studio and a massive team and translations in every country. But we've kept an honest, you know, it's still my business and still made it work.
Yeah, and I think to that point, it's like a successful, sustainable business. There's been a lot of boom and bust in this sector, and I think what you've said as well about control, like, I think a lot of people are envious of that when bigger companies come in sometimes, where they lose that control, especially for something they're so passionate about.
That's it. The thought of sitting in Zoom meetings and being told what I have to make next, and why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you hitting this many views, or why did that video that you wanted to make bomb when we should have made a video? You know, even the Ronaldo Messi stuff. There's another channel in the cartoon football space that just keeps making Ronaldo and Messi cartoons, and there's that part you're going, the views are really good on it. Should we do that? And you just go, no, because I'm sick of making Ronaldo and Messi. You know, I want to make stuff I want to make, and if that's Newcastle winning 7-0, which is a really tiny story, then I'll make that instead. But
great.
It's hard. And there's no rules. That's the main thing, is that there's no real rules with it all. And certainly the social space, as I've always said, when I started this, I didn't think YouTube would still be going as a thing. And here we are 10 years later, and it's an absolute monster.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, and it's going to keep on going. I think next, 10, 20 years. I think the big thing is it's an entertainment platform at the end of the day. It's not like a fad of like a social network and stuff. So yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Dean. That's been amazing to share your story. And thank you for coming on to Coffee for Scalers, or Coffee for Tea today. But thank you.
Thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for that, Dennis.